I guess it's been like 3 weeks. We went to Epic Universe, had an amazing day, and I guess it takes a little bit. You kind of have to absorb everything that's happened.
Let it sink in.
Yeah. So we thought we would kind of share everything we liked about the park, if there was anything that we didn't. I don't know. So I guess let's just jump straight in. So the day started super early. We got there at, 6:45 in the morning?
I mean, do you want to start there, or do you want to start us randomly buying the tickets?
Randomly buying tickets, yeah. So
you start at the beginning.
Yeah, if we start really at the beginning. Yeah, so 2 weeks before that, they decided to open the preview events to pretty much anybody.
Universal.
Yeah, you didn't even have to stay at a hotel. You could just buy the ticket. So I jumped in the queue. It took 30 minutes. I got the day. Was super excited. Probably one of the fastest impulse buys I've ever done in a long time. And so, yeah, we had to change our hotel plans around just so we can get in that hour early.
But we already had plans to be in Florida the week of Epic Universe's grand opening, which means that we were there during the end of the previews. So we were already planning, we had planned this trip months ago. We had planned to be in Florida, but we did not have plans to go to Epic because at that time, the only way to get into Epic was you had to buy 3 days at Universal. You only got 1 day at Epic. Did you have to stay on property too? Was that another?
I don't think so. You just had to get the
3-day
3-day ticket. And it usually makes sense to stay on property. But no, you had to get the 3-day ticket. We weren't really ready to commit to that with our kids. We just didn't know how much... they're a little bit on the younger side, and I always kind of consider Universal Islands of Adventures a little bit more of older kids. Mm-hmm. So, and plus the time frame that we were looking to go down there was the dates available were rapidly shrinking, and by the time I even got in the queue to look at actually purchasing a ticket, a normal ticket, I think the earliest I could get was in June. So that wasn't really an option, but. Regardless, though, we got in for the preview event. So we kind of ruled it out. We're not going to be going to Epic this year. We'll probably be going next year. Well, we made it. So
we went on the very last day of the previews.
So, yeah, back to the park. We got there super early. We were probably one of the first 20 guests standing at the park gates. I was actually surprised how incredibly early we were there, and we're the first ones waiting to get in.
Well, we stayed on property. We stayed, what's it called?
Endless Summers.
Endless Summer. We stayed at Endless Summer, so that meant that we got into the park. Well, supposedly we were supposed to get into the park 1 hour early and have access to things before the regular GP.
But again, it's preview event. So, yeah, we got there. It was 7:30. They started hyping everybody out on the line. Hey, guess what? We're going to let you in earlier. And it was supposed to be 7:45. And then 7:46 came, 7:47. And it just opened at normal at 8 o'clock, at the early preview time. And off we went. So when we got into the park, it didn't go off as planned at first. So right after we got through the ticketing, there was this lady standing there and she stopped us. She was like, I got to scan her ticket.
My ticket.
And we're okay, because we had a little bit of a problem with the ticket. We thought they were just re-verifying. No, I guess she was, but it turned into she wanted to ask 15 questionnaire or something.
It was a survey.
Yeah, it was just a survey. And of course, we're, theme park junkies, and we're wanting to, like I said, we're one of the first 10 people through that gate in the morning. So as soon as they opened it up, we were one of the first people in, and then here we get stopped with this survey, because, again, I thought something else and I realized it was a survey, so you're kind of awkwardly standing there, and you're no, we're done. Let's go.
I don't want to answer these questions.
Yeah.
But by that point, by the time we realized that it wasn't something with my ticket, it was just a survey, we were I don't know how to get out of this.
Yeah, and I was a little annoyed about that. But so, because like I said, we have this game plan set up. Our original plan is we're going to run right over to Stardust Racers, go do those roller coasters, and get ourselves in line for Isle of Burt. Well, surprise, Stardust Racers was not ready to open during the early preview as it was supposed to, and it was only going to be Super Mario World. So we rush over, and then Super Mario World wasn't open yet either. And they're like, we don't know if we'll open until 9. And we're like, well, what was the whole point of getting here? And like 2 seconds later, they opened it up. So it was like, again, it's just high stress level moment where there's just like, you don't know what the heck is going on. So, but as we're going in, people are like, they had like this little like funnel, but people were just going over the little lines there, and everybody was just rushing into Super Mario World. But they stopped me once again because they wanted to see my hotel card to see if I was allowed to be there for the early preview. And I was like, how many other people? Like hundreds, like no joke, literally hundreds of people. And then you pick me out. So I'm like stumbling through my wallet, trying to pull out the hotel key, and of course being a little bit annoyed again. But nonetheless, everything was good.
We finally made it in.
Yes, we're finally going up the escalators into Super Mario World. And I guess that first visual that you get walking into there is, I don't know, breathtaking in a way.
Epic.
It's very, yeah, I guess we'll be using that pun the whole entire video. Very interesting. I mean, it feels like you do step into like the video game world. I mean, just all the details they have in there. It's probably, I think I made the argument, I'll make the argument about one of the other lands I think is a little bit more complete and maybe just how it feels. But I guess this one is really up there too, where this just complete area of the park. Like you feel like you have left Epic Universe and have entered into a different park. This one I think definitely has the best transition with that pipe. Yeah,
with going up the escalator. Yeah, it's amazing.
So, but yeah, that's how the day started. Again, this was a preview event, but I don't really want to, we're not going to walk through our entire day of like how we did stuff. We're going to focus on like the exciting things, what we really liked, what we didn't really like. So yeah, we're in Super Mario World. We went straight to the Mario Kart attraction. I think it's like Bowser's Challenge. I'm really bad with the names because there's something about the Universal attractions that I can never remember their names. And maybe it's because a lot of them are like really long. Like obviously you got Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Like who thought that was like a good name for a roller coaster? Let's make it, 50 words or something. So, but yeah, we went and did that ride. And the first thing I'll tell you off the bat, and you probably have already seen everybody talking about this, there's a lot of stairs, and especially a ton of stairs in Super Mario World. Mm-hmm. Depending on where you're going, you will go upstairs to get in, and then you'll go downstairs, and then you'll go upstairs again. So, but thankfully Super Mario Kart, that attraction is on. You just go up the main escalator, and then you walk over to the left. But once you get in there, there's more steps. I was going to say,
you go up steps as soon as you go in, you do queues, and then you go down steps, and then you go down more steps.
And that's probably, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of really good queues at Epic Universe. If there's one thing I will say about the theming level-wise, the queues are very immersive. So this one right off the bat with Mario Kart, if you were stuck in that whole entire queue waiting and walking around, you probably really wouldn't be that bored because there's just so much to look at. And we were kind of hastily working our way through. So there was some stuff where we're like, kind of want to sit and kind of soak it in, but the line's moving. Like, so you just gotta go through. But yeah, there's so much detail inside that queue. Mm-hmm. And as for the ride, I feel like it's a flawed attraction. I don't know if you have a different interpretation. And the reason I say that is because of the technology. It's like, I guess you call it like augmented reality. I'm not really sure exactly how they interpret it. But basically, you sit in these little, it's supposed to be like a go-kart. And you have a steering wheel. Everybody has a steering wheel, and they have certain spots of the ride where they tell you to turn it, though I don't really know if that actually does anything, just makes you feel like you are doing something. But it is a mix of augmented reality with the goggles that you have on, and it's like this weird visor, so it has like objects will show up on the screen, and animatronics and scenery that they have around, which I actually was very impressed because I think a lot of us, when we think Universal, we think like screens, the ride, everything is screens. And I was actually very surprised how reserved they were with using screens. There was a lot of animatronics, a lot of real theming that wasn't screens, I guess you could say. And it was a blend. But what I'm saying about with the virtual augmented reality, the tech is not quite there, but it still looks very good, for sure. And it's something that you'll probably see in a few years will only get better. So this is like a fantastic first start. And I feel like this attraction, it's going to get upgrades, and this ride's going to be only get better. Yeah. So I don't know. What did you think about that, Ryan?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I was a little bit distracted just because I was riding in the front with Leander. And just because of his size, his head was like right in the speaker. So the speakers are kind of behind you. And to like a normal adult, the speakers kind of hit your shoulders. But because he's a little dude, the speaker is like right in his ear. And so he spent the whole ride with his hands in his ears because it was so loud. And he was loving the ride, but he couldn't really, without taking his hands out of his ears, he couldn't steer or shoot things or actually like participate in the ride. So I was a little bit distracted trying to be like, are you okay, dude? Like you can take your hands down. It's okay.
He's always kind of been like that with dark rides, though. He plugs his ears. They're always too loud. But I think he enjoyed it, but I think because he was saying about how loud it is, he didn't actually really want to ride it later when we were given the opportunity. We actually had a employee in Dark Universe handed us all a free single-use express. And we're like, oh, well, let's use that so we can go back on the Mario Kart ride, because then all four of us could do it. And he didn't really want to do it. So we, spoiler alert, we used it for the Celestial Carousel, of all things.
I know that sounds really funny, and it sounds like, wait, you used the Express Pass for what? But it worked out in the end.
It did. Well, we'll get there. So yeah, we did that. We obviously went over, we did Minecart Madness. And I think the Donkey Kong Country has better theming. And the reason why I say that, maybe it's probably arguable to say that Super Mario World of that section looks better. But when you go in there, you have like the upbeats jungle music playing. And it really just gets you into the mood for that attraction, and it really sucks you in. And so, yeah, that ride, Minecart Madness, is a little, I don't know. I guess I'm like, I don't really know how to interpret that ride. Like, it's fine. The whole sensation of acting like you're riding on this fake track, I guess, didn't really fool me as much. But to me, it was just like a layer of theming, I guess is the best way I could put it. So it's a very well-themed attraction. There's a lot of interactions throughout the ride, like the train pretending that it's jumping tracks and whatnot.
So we parent swapped Minecart because Leander wouldn't ride it, even though he is tall enough, and he wouldn't ride it because it's a roller coaster and he doesn't like big roller coasters. So we parent swapped. And Braylon and I rode after Derrick and Braylon rode, and we actually got stuck in one of the rooms, and we actually came to a stop, and we just sat there for maybe 60 seconds. And it really spoiled like the effect of what was going on in that room. And it was right in the middle of the ride, and it was just kind of like, what's happening, guys? Like, it was just really, it was a little strange. So my experience
it's kind of like
was
any other dark ride.
Tainted.
Yeah. If you've ever been on a dark ride and the ride pauses at some point, sometimes they turn the lights on, and it just, it's like the don't look at the man behind the curtain kind of a scenario.
I wish we could have ridden it again, and I could have ridden it and had the full experience. Because it just was tainted. And later on in the day, they were like pumping through carts really, really fast.
Yeah, the ride has the ride doesn't actually have a high capacity because each train only holds 4 people. But each of those trains, it was like, I don't know, like every 12 to 15 seconds, another one was pretty much right behind it. So there's a ton of block breaks along the ride, which is why the ride isn't really that fast for majority of it. Like majority of this ride, you're going probably like 10 miles an hour or something. I don't know. It's on the slower side for sure. There's a couple spots that you go a little bit faster, but the layout is a little bit repetitive. The trains are a little shaky, but again, I don't think it really matters. I know some people play, oh, it's so rough, but
it's part of the theming.
It's part of the theming. It kind of goes along with it. And you got to remember that you're technically sitting, like the train you're sitting on is like, I don't know, like 6 feet off the actual track that the train is attached to. So yeah, it's going to have some more give to it. But yeah, that was that. So afterwards, we went over to Isle of Berk, and I think that's like, so far, it seems to be like everybody's favorite land.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good for sure. I think the rides were a little bit more surprising. Well, I guess we only did the one, but they have the show over there, which is really cool. And you have the meet Toothless and or whatever character is there that with you. We were really close to meeting Hiccup, but we didn't get Hiccup. But nonetheless, it was cool walking up and getting to see Toothless.
There are characters from the movies just kind of strolling through the land. So if you happen to see them, you can go talk to them, which is really cool.
I don't know. So again, we're during preview events. I don't know if you go during now, there'll be more characters in other lands, but definitely Isle of Bark is where we saw the most characters. Like there was the twins, there was Astrid, there was Hiccup. I think there was even somebody walking around with like a little baby dragon or something.
I was going to say, we did not see we've seen videos of people with baby dragons, and our kids really wanted to see the baby dragons, and we didn't see them.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. This is a place where there's a lot of meet and greets. You still have that over Super Mario, but I guess we'll get to that. But the land itself looks very well.
It's very big. It's very big, and it just kind of keeps on going and going.
And it's definitely one of the most family-friendly sections of the park. There's like this playground area. It actually has the most rides than any of the other areas, I believe, because you have the roller coaster. Well, I guess it has 3, so that's about the same on with the Super Mario area. But yeah, you have Hiccup's Wing Glider. I keep calling it Hiccup's Wing Coaster, but it's Hiccup's Wing Glider. You have like the dragon racers or whatever it is.
The dragon race rally?
That probably
right?
sounds about right.
Rally race?
And then you have the
rally.
water attraction.
The fire drill.
Yes. And we didn't do those 2. We thought we were going to do the fire drill, but then the kids just didn't want to do it. So, but yeah. And then we watched the show over there. The show was very good. I don't know. The story was fine, but yeah, it's more about the effects on that show. Like you have Toothless flying out with Hiccup riding on top.
Don't spoil it.
Everybody else has already spoiled it, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
And you're not supposed to. They tell you very clearly. It is said at the beginning of the show.
Don't shoot video.
No video recording.
And there's obviously a ton out on
everyone pulls their phone out. And it's like okay.
I surprisingly did not.
I didn't either.
We were good people.
We followed the rules.
For part of the rules, but yeah. So Isle of Berk, really good area.
But no, I think what makes that area so amazing and what makes everyone love that area so much is the music.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the epic music playing throughout as you're walking around, which definitely, that was another thing about Epic Universe. All the lands have their own music playing. You don't have, it's not like going to Six Flags where you have random pop music just blaring at the top of its lungs. It complements wherever you're at, the atmosphere and the mood. It's not overbearing.
Yeah.
You can have conversations with people without the music like screaming at somebody to hear what they're saying.
But the How to Train Your Dragon music is really, really epic. And it is throughout the whole Isle of Berk. And it's on some of the rides and it's in the show. And it pulls everything together.
For sure. So that's Isle of Berk, the roller coaster. We love the roller coaster, but we'll get back to the rides here really second. Let's just jump over the lands here really quick. So we've Super Mario, you have Isle of Berk. There is Dark Universe, which I'm the only one that did one of the attractions, but we all did walk through that area. And that's where I think has the best aesthetic of all the attractions. I just feel like the area feels very well complete. The Burning Blade Tavern, I believe is what it's called, which is that windmill that catches on fire randomly, is so cool. Probably one of my favorite little interactive 15-minute side little things that happen inside parks. I think it's just really neat.
Wait, you think it's better than Diagon Alley with the dragon breathing the fire?
Yeah, I guess it's just because the dragon is this is to me was the next step up because it's more fire and it lasts longer. I don't know. It's we doubled the fire.
It didn't really last that long though.
It lasts for about 20-30 seconds.
I thought it was going to last longer.
But
because I took a video of it, and literally as I was reaching to pull out my camera to take a photo of it, it was done. And I was like, oh, I totally misjudged that.
But no, it's cool. The whole area looks very neat. And what I like about it, it's not particularly themed to any movie or any like upcoming attraction. So it's kind of like its own, even though it's based off of characters that we all know, like Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, all that nonsense. The whole monster universe, it's all part of that, but it's not really like there's no movie there like, oh, this is, from this one movie. It's really kind of like its own thing. So I kind of like that vibe as versus the others. They're very much attached to their particular IP and movies that you watch. So that's what I guess one thing I kind of enjoy about Dark Universe. So there's Dark Universe, and then the last one is it called that area called the Ministry of Magic?
I think so.
The Ministry of Magic. And again,
it's the Harry Potter section.
It's the other Harry. It's like the obligatory Harry Potter section in every park. It looks very good. Don't get me wrong. And we didn't get to do the dark ride, and the queue what we saw with that dark ride was spectacular.
Amazing.
But at the same time, it's kind of like another Harry Potter section inside a Universal. It's just kind of like Universal and Harry Potter are a must at every theme park or something, I guess. I'm waiting for the Harry Potter attraction to open up at Volcano Bay. It's coming soon. So,
wow.
But
salty. Oh
yeah, sure. But the area looks very nice. But again, it's just kind of like, I was liking how all the other ones are different, and then you walk here and it's kind of like a slight different take on Diagon Alley. Diagon Alley is better because...
Okay, well, because Diagon Alley is set in the magical world. This is supposed to be like England.
Yeah, isn't this more based off of like the Fantastic Beasts? I think this area is something you see from the Fantastic Beasts a little bit more, even though the attraction is very much tied to the Harry Potter saga. The Battle of the Ministry, because of the characters that you see on screen.
Yeah.
The giant projector or whatever, which looks pretty cool.
But we didn't really walk around too much. We got some butterbeer.
Yes, which the butterbeer is always good.
But that's pretty much all we did. We walked in, we got our butterbeer, we walked through the queue of the dark ride, and then we left. So we didn't even go over toward the show or the other branch that kind of goes the other way. And we didn't go into
any other shops or restaurants in that area.
So it
was like a 30-minute version. Yeah, it was literally like a 30-minute express to that area. But that's the one section we'll go back next and tackle. But because we knew we weren't going to be able to get on the Ministry of Magic, we just didn't really spend time over there. We went over there just to kind of peek at it and to get the butterbeer was really the main reason why we went into the Harry Potter land. But so there's that. And then there's also the main hub, which is the Celestial Park, which is like where you walk. That's like the majority of the park in the way, where you have the giant fountains, and that's where you have Stardust Racers and the Celestial Carousel, all right there in the center-ish way, even though Stardust Racer is a little bit more closer to like Isle of Berk in the Harry Potter section. In the Celestial Carousel is right outside of Super Mario World. It's right there. But inside this area, there's a bunch of random shops and restaurants. But the main thing is surprising how many fountains there are there. It's like it almost feels like that's all you're doing. Like there's not many trees as much as there are fountains, which, by the way, people have already brought it up. Yes, there's very little shade in this park. You're mostly exposed. I'm sure it'll get a little bit better as trees grow in, but probably not much more, to be truly honest. That park is always going to kind of be like this. It's
going to be hot.
Yeah. By design in a way, just by how exposed it is with all these fountains and whatnot. So yeah, those are the lands. What would you say was your favorite land?
Isle of Berk.
So it's such a touch for me. It's really a tough question because I like the roller coaster in Isle of Berk, but I really like the aesthetics of like Super Mario World, and I also love the aesthetics of Dark Universe. I guess the least favorite for right now is the Harry Potter because I haven't done the dark ride, and I'll probably change my opinion. But for now, that one's kind of like eh. And I think that's kind of like my way of like coping with the fact that I didn't get to do the dark ride. That I'll be like, oh, well, that area wasn't really that good. But the Celestial Park has its own flavor, and I kind of enjoy it. And actually, it kind of reminds me, especially when you're over by Stardust Racers, and I think I already even told you this, it made me feel like I was in Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom. It kind of has like that 60s, 70s era vibe of what you think the future would look like or feel like or something. It has its own take for sure. So it's definitely not the same, but you do pick up certain similarities. But I like that. I like that feeling, that trend. That's because Tomorrowland is one of my favorite areas at Magic Kingdom. So I guess it makes sense. So I guess I don't really have a good answer what my favorite one is. So, but that's that. And then, so the attractions, what would you say was your favorite attraction?
See, that's really tough because I like them all.
For me, theming wise and just the experience, I really enjoyed Hiccup's Wing Glider. I thought that was a fantastic attraction. The roller coaster aspect is fun. The theming throughout the ride is enjoyable, especially like my kids enjoy How to Train Your Dragon, and it just has a good story. And the audio that Hiccup says throughout that ride is different every time you ride it. Like he says different lines of dialogue and stuff, which I find it very fascinating.
Really?
He does.
I do not remember that.
Yeah, like when you're in like the area with the exploding eggs or whatever,
yeah.
He says it's the same kind of thing, but he'll say it differently or he'll say different things.
Oh.
Which I thought was, again, helps with the rewritability.
I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And
maybe the two rides that I got had the exact same script.
Possibly, maybe, I don't know. I have no idea how many different scripts or what the different take on that is. But that ride was very fun, and then obviously I enjoyed the queue, and I guess I enjoyed the ride as well with the Monsters Unleashed. I think, again, I'm going to screw up the names, or is it Unchained? It's the Dracula experiment, or the Frankenstein experiment. I think it's called the Frankenstein experiment. Like I said, I suck with the names. That's what it is. But anyways, it's the dark ride attraction in Dark Universe. The queue is fully immersive. For those who like to push the envelope a little bit more, like it's definitely not your Disney friendly attraction.
Family friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I enjoy. And there was some like younger kids that were in the queue and they were not having a fun time at all. But the ride itself, it's probably more in the lines of like the PG-13 area. It's not like straight on like super scary nonsense, but definitely takes it to that next level. And I did enjoy that.
I did not ride it.
The mechanics of that ride is the same as the Harry Potter Forbidden Journey attraction at Islands of Adventure. So if you remember how that ride feels, this is very similar, except the technology is so much better. It's a lot of mix of screens and animatronics and stuff. Yeah, there's this animatronic of Frankenstein, and he looks fantastic. Like they really went all out on that attraction.
I didn't ride it because there's no way I'm riding it alone.
But this is the thing, like all the rides are done very well. There wasn't a single ride that I left that I felt like disappointed, like, oh, well, this didn't meet Universal standards or something like that. So on that level, fantastic. The Celestial Carousel, to me, that was, I guess, if anything, I'd say is the one and done. Mostly just because of how the queue. So we used that express, and the reason why we used that express, because the queue for that line is kind of like a mess. Like the loading process was super confusing.
It's not the queue, it's the loading and unloading process.
Takes forever.
It's very long. Maybe it was just the day we were there, and
possibly, or just because we were like in rush mode. It was like 7:00 and we were like trying to get what can we squeeze in before the park closed at 8:00, and just how slow that process was going. We were like, oh my gosh. But yeah, we used the express so we could skip that. It probably saved us like 2 cycles of the ride, which in turn probably saved us like 20 minutes, but allowed us to ride Hiccup's Wing Glider, which we didn't need the express over there, because when we walked over there, it was just, you walk right into the station.
Yeah.
So the attractions, the other thing I want to bring about the attractions, especially for parents, is their parent swap. I call it Universal. They have their parents. It's like their Universal jail for parents. I guess.
Parent jail.
Yeah,
we called it parent jail.
Parent jail is basically 100% what it was. There was some that are worse. Kara has a little clip you can see here of Stardust Racers. That one was like crazy. Like it was, like 50 people stuffed into this little box of a
Very
room.
tiny room.
Yeah.
I was going to say when we did it for Minecart Madness, it wasn't so bad because it was just like us and one other family.
Yeah, it was like nothing.
When we did it for Hiccups, it was just like us and one other family. It actually wasn't even a parent swap. It was a girl who was waiting for like medics to come because her restraint she'd gotten stapled on the ride and she was complaining that her leg hurt. So there really wasn't even anybody in there. But then by the time we got over to Stardust Racers so that's what we were expecting, like one or two other families. We opened the door and there was so many people stuffed in this very tiny room. And it was like, okay, there's nowhere to sit. I don't even know where I can stand. It was crazy.
Yeah. So how their system works is you all wait in the normal queue together. And then when you get up to like the station or close to the station, they split you off. The one group that's going to wait will go into the waiting room while the other party rides the attraction. And then once they come off, they will walk into that waiting room and then you just casually walk back into the line right there as well. The problem is most of the rides for that little waiting area, you waited right at the end. You had to wait a couple minutes to get onto the attraction. So it wasn't really that much of an inconvenience. As for Stardust Racers, after where you waited, it makes sense because it's after the lockers and you're upstairs. But the queue upstairs, you'll still wait a good 20 to 25 minutes to get on that ride. And that's how long the ride was that day. It was about 20 to 25 minute wait. The wait was literally after the locker and metal detector.
Is where the line started. Yes.
That was the really slow part of our day because I waited 25 minutes to get on the ride and then she had to wait. I think you waited a little bit less. The line was a little bit shorter.
It was not shorter.
But still, nonetheless, you had to wait another 20 minutes to get onto the attraction. So be aware about that, especially on the Stardust Racers, because if you want to ride, if everybody in your party wants to ride and you have to use the parent swap and you want to ride both sides of the two coasters, then plan your day accordingly to either get that knocked out first thing in the morning when the line is the shortest, like if you can rope drop it, that way you don't have to wait as long at all, or just be prepared to take up some time of your day.
Well, right, because I would say no matter what, you're going to wait 20 to 25 minutes for one parent and then 20 to 25 minutes for the other parent, no matter what. Yeah, if the line is at least 20 minutes wait up to where the metal detector is, that's how it is. Now, they do have a single rider's line there, but that was definitely moving a lot slower than the people in the right, because I walked up and considered, should I get in the single rider's line? And then I decided, no, I'm just going to wait for one of this. I forget which side I picked. I think I picked the green side.
Yeah, you rode the green.
And I was like so glad that I did because I walked right past probably 100 people waiting. And I was just like, bye.
So take that. The single rider might let you. So if the line is super long for that attraction, like 2 hours long, then maybe the single rider will get you up into that station really quick.
I don't think that you can actually get in the single rider line until you go through the metal detectors, though.
Well, I think there's a line outside that will take you to the metal detectors, and then you can get back into the single. I don't know. I really don't know. But I guess it doesn't make any sense. Like, the single riders for that attraction really didn't make any sense to me at all.
Well, it does.
But it's slow. Slow. I'm just saying capacity-wise, it didn't really make sense.
The parent swapping was the worst for that, though, because they split you after the metal detectors. So that means Derrick has no cell phone, and we hadn't ridden the ride yet. So me and the kids went into the parent jail room, and he went to ride the ride. And I was just like, how long is this going to take? I have no way to contact him. There's 2 very small windows in that room that we couldn't get near either of them because there were people huddled around them. So I couldn't even look out to see, is the ride down? I don't know. So that was really rough because we just sat there for 20, 25 minutes.
Just waiting.
Unknown what's happening outside of the room. We were just stuck in this box.
That's the biggest difference. And I think out of all the theme parks that I've been to, this is probably, I get why they do it. and it makes sense. I guess it works depending on, probably for most of the ride, it works just fine.
I was gonna say, for hiccups and for
Comparing it to
Mind Heart
Disney,
Madness, it works good. The spot where they have the parent swap room is situated correctly. When they built Stardust Racers, they screwed up.
But yeah, it's just because of how that queue is. But Disney-wise, if I were to look at Disney, I think I just enjoy the Disney aspect better. You just use your magic band, and they pretty much give those who are waiting an extra
lightning lane.
It's like they just give you a lightning lane, essentially, is what it is. So as the one person goes to the main queue, and then the other party just gets to walk up to the lightning lane. So you don't have to wait in the parent gel. You can be out. You can be over in a store. You can essentially go back to the attraction whenever you want.
Well, that's the problem, right? That's what I was starting after 20 minutes. I was starting to panic in the Stardust Racers parent room because Leander mentioned that he needed to use the bathroom, and I was like, oh my goodness, if I have to leave this room and take him to the bathroom, A, how do I get back?
Yeah.
B, how do I get out of here? C, there's no way to tell Derrick that I'm going to take him to the bathroom, and then they probably won't let me come back, and like that process would have been extremely painful. So at Disney, when you do the lightning lane thing, I mean, while the other parent is in the regular queue, you can go eat something, go ride some more rides, go meet some characters, go do other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes that work so much better at Disney. So yeah, being stuck and restrained to that one area is, especially like I said, when it gets super crowded in there, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. But so yeah, that's the rides. I think we talked about the rides. The next thing is the food. So Epic Universe, surprisingly, at first before we went, I heard mixed things. People are like, oh my gosh, the food is really not that good. And then we had is it Moon Pizza or Pizza Moon? I think it's called Moon Pizza. And I was completely blown away. I mean, it's pizza, but it's like gourmet pizza, and the quality of the ingredients, the
super
quality
fresh.
Really good. I was blown away. Amazing. The theming in that restaurant was top notch. Like, they did not spare no expense in these restaurants either. I was really surprised. Like, me just comparing it to some of the ones I've seen at Disney, I felt like this was like kind of like the step up in a way. It's like amazing. So yeah, we did Moon Pizza. It was really good. There are a lot of restaurants throughout here for you to check out, but
they have tons of restaurants.
You're only there for a day, so if you're going to eat like 2 meals. So we ate, Moon Pizza, and then we had the Toadstool restaurant, which is inside Super Mario World. And again, same experience, really enjoyed it. The food, the kids got burgers. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I got to say, the prices are not bad for theme park food. Like, maybe a step more expensive than what you expect to pay going out to eat. But
if you compare it to Six Flags.
Oh my gosh. It's just, so the pizzas, like each pizza, they say it serves about 2 people, which is accurate. It's 2 people eating like a full meal, not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm still really hungry. I felt very full after eating that pizza.
We got 2 pizzas.
They were like $15. $15 for that pizza, which is...
I think it was 18.
Depending on which one you got. So they ranged in prices from, I think it was like $14 up to $20, depending on how crazy you went with some of the toppings. But that's pretty much the same you'd pay for takeout. Like, it was, like I said, very reasonable. I didn't feel like I was getting robbed as you're eating and then served like, here's the worst low quality food that you can get. And it was... reasonably priced, and one of the most amazing theme park foods that you could get.
Mm-hmm. It was delicious.
Same thing as the Toadstool. So the kids got the Happy Meal at the Toadstool. And
the kids meal.
Well, what did I call it? Did I call it a Happy Meal? Yeah, kids meal. So it came with a burger. It didn't have fries. It had like a vegetable.
It had broccoli, it had corn, and then it had a cookie.
Yeah, it was like crazy how much stuff it had with it. And it was like $10 or something. I can't remember, but it was like, again, very reasonable price. And it also has a little Mario character sitting on top. And the kids I think that was probably the most exciting thing to the kids. They're like, whoa! And they brought it out. I got like this chicken something. I can't remember, but that tasted very good. Very well themed and placed. The food was, but presented.
Plated.
Plated. Yes.
It looked very nice.
I'm such a foodie, obviously. And I can't remember what you got. Did you get a burger or a salad?
No.
You don't remember what you got?
I didn't get anything.
You didn't get anything?
I just shared.
Well, I was going to say what the kids got, their meal was so big. I think it was essentially like we ate that and ate some of my meal too.
Yeah. I mean, because they weren't sliders. They were full-size burgers.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like a full meal, like that kid's meal. It's surprisingly how much food they have for the kid's meal. Your kid should not leave hungry. But yeah, we didn't get to check out we didn't eat anything over in Isle of Burke. We didn't do any dessert items at all. I think
we got the butter beer.
Okay, we did do the butter beer.
And we got frozen butter beer, so it's like...
Yeah, we didn't grab any ice cream somewhere or anything like that.
That hit the ice cream.
But yeah, there is obviously the other themed restaurant is the Burning Blade Tavern, as I mentioned. And I hear the food looks pretty interesting. But we didn't check it out. Same, there's a restaurant inside the Harry Potter land. And there's some other like fancy restaurants in the Celestial area. There was one that looked like it was like an aquarium or something. My son was like, oh, we should go do that. We didn't make it in there. I kind of thought like, oh, maybe we'll do that for dinner or something. But it's just, yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, it's just, but yeah, there's so many options. And I'm probably... you're not going to be disappointed in whatever you pick. I couldn't be surprised. We were 2 for 2 that I thought were very well. So I feel like everything else is probably going to be at that same level, same quality. So yeah, the food wise, definitely worth it. Take advantage of the app to do the mobile ordering so you can order ahead.
You have to do the mobile ordering.
You have to do it. Yes, you do have to do it. Or wasn't it at the Toadstool you can do takeout and they have like a little cash register in the front? There was like had the option. Yeah, you had the option of like eating in or like taking out.
But you had to mobile order across the board. That was the only way to get food.
Which is, to me, that's the way to go with theme parks.
Awesome.
Stop standing in line. That was actually surprisingly the only problem we ran into at the Moon Pizza is we had to wait to sit down because the place was packed. So they were waiting for tables to open up for us to go sit down. And
we didn't end up waiting that long. Maybe 10 minutes?
Give or take, something like that.
But by the time we sat down and we turned around and looked, though, the line was literally out the door.
Yeah. So I could see some people waiting even longer, especially hit the restaurant early, I guess would be my next tip.
The off times of
don't
food.
go rushing over there at noon. Yeah, you're going to be waiting quite a while. Hit there a little bit earlier and you'll hopefully get in there sooner. But outside of the restaurants, there is, so I guess we'll kind of briefly touch on the other attractions that are not rides or restaurants. So you have the meet and greet. We already talked about that with Hiccup, but
Toothless.
Yes, Toothless and Hiccup may or not be there. Astrid was part of that too at one point. But you also have Princess Peach in Super Mario World. There was Mario and Luigi. I don't know if any of the other characters show up over there. Oh, Toad. Okay.
At one point when we walked through, it was Toad, which was really fun. Every single time we walked through and it was either Mario, Luigi, or Toad, the line was closed. So you couldn't even get in line to go meet them. When we walked by and we saw Princess Peach, her line was also closed, but the attendant said, hey, by the way, she's coming back out, and told us the time. And so we made sure that we came back over to get in line to meet Princess Peach.
And I think there was some monster type characters waltzing around inside the Dark Universe. There was this lady with a violin or something. She was kind of telling, I guess, she was actually telling the story of Phantom of the Opera one time when I was walking by. So I thought that was interesting. But that's what she was talking about.
But we didn't spend enough time.
Yeah, we didn't spend enough time in there to really see what other characters there would be. And also Curse of the Werewolf, which is their roller coaster over there, was closed that day. So thus that area was not as alive, you could say. It says it's alive, but yeah, it wasn't. And I don't know what kind of character meet and greets, if there is any, over in the Harry Potter section. We're not really sure at all.
I don't really know.
Who knows? But there's that, and those who just want to kind of chill, obviously you have the interactions that you can do with the power band over in Super Mario World. didn't do it, so I'm not going to really go into that. But again, there's a lot of different little things you can do outside of the attractions.
Of different things that you can do.
Yeah.
With the power bands, there's games you can play and challenges and all sorts of stuff.
And maybe you're more of like a chill kind of person inside the Celestial Park. The fountains, there's like the fountain show, especially when you get into the evening. There's just a lot of people just kind of chilling around this giant, by the way, it's a huge giant fountain that like is in front of the Helios Hotel, which is a massive hotel, by the way. And yeah, pretty impressive little water fountain show, I guess. I don't know, water show of some sort. I don't know what you'd call it. It's all like cued to music and whatnot, music and lights and whatnot. But I don't know if they're going to end up, I think they are doing an evening show. I think they've been testing it now that they're getting into staying open later. But again, they were only open till 8. So wasn't really ready for the evening show. But yeah, nonetheless, that was a fun little show that they did.
There's also, so speaking of like things to do within the lands that's not rides, obviously you can get a wand over in the Harry Potter land, and you can go around and cast spells and things like that. There were a lot of people doing that. So that's just another thing, though, that you have to buy, right? So you have to buy a wand, but it only works in Harry Potter world. You have to buy a power-up band, but it only works in Super Nintendo world.
The wand, though, I'm pretty sure you can take and go use it over at the other Harry Potter.
Yes.
And so definitely you can continue. So it's definitely with that Harry Potter, like you can continue that, especially if you're there for 3+ days at Universal. I kind of do enjoy that there's this activity that you can take to all the 3 parks and get different experiences out of it. So yeah, Epic Universe as itself is a very complete park. It's going to only get better as time goes on. Now the question is, I hear people say, do you need a full day? Do you need 2 days, 3 days? It all really comes down to what you want to do.
Right.
We were able to get on every ride that we wanted to and felt satisfied with our full day. But coming back for the second day you would have ate at a different restaurant.
Right.
Maybe we even would have made our way onto the battle at the Ministry.
Well, we attacked the day from the very beginning until the very end with like extreme like go mentality. Like we have to keep moving. There was no stopping at all. So if we were able to come back the next day, I think we would have spent more time just kind of walking around and enjoying things. Like our kids wanted to walk around and play and do other things. And we were like, no, we got to keep going. Let's go.
Yeah, it was just, because it was like, oh my gosh, we got to squeeze all this stuff into this day. We're given this one day. We're going to get the most out of this day. But yeah, if you have multiple days is always the best way to go about it. You're not going to be, let's just put it this way. It's not like a park like, oh, I spent 2 days, but I was kind of bored the second day. You're not going to be bored the second day.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There'll still be plenty of stuff. There'll be more things that you'll notice to take a look at, enjoy the theming. Like, oh, I didn't realize that those little dragons hidden off in the corner in Isle of Berk. Yeah, there's so many extra little details to check out.
I would say we spent the most time in Super Nintendo World and in Isle of Berk. But we knew that's where we were going to spend the most time because that's what our kids love. They love Mario and they love Toothless.
And I still don't feel like I spent enough time over in Super Mario World.
No.
Either, which is crazy. As much as time we spent over there, I feel like I could have spent more just kind of looking at stuff because you're always just kind of like constantly moving.
There's just so much. Yeah. There's so much. There's so many interactive things that we didn't realize the first or the second time that we were there. But the third round was like, oh, there's stuff over there.
But yeah, no, roller coasters. So if you're looking for the thrills, Stardust Racers is essentially one of the best roller coasters in the world. There's some that are arguing it as the best. I don't think it's the best. I still think Velocicoaster is better, but it's a fantastic roller coaster. It looks great at night. So if you're looking for the thrills, they have it. If you're a fan of theming, they really have the theming top notch. This is a great park. So any other closing thoughts you have on this?
Nope.
So
Epic was wonderful. We loved it.
It was a fantastic park. Definitely worth coming back.
It felt like a dream to be there and to walk around, and it all just felt so wonderful. And
so yeah, if you want the opportunity to go, I definitely say take the opportunity to go check out Epic Universe. You're not going to be disappointed. Great park. So, well, thank you so much for this very long video, and we'll talk to you next time.